hey, and that's your final answer?
And what do you have for us this morning that's in the news?
We had a pretty interesting thing. Bob Woodward apparently was given an opportunity to do a reported 18 short interviews with President Trump over some time period. I never heard about it. Apparently it was done undercover, and it doesn't sound like it was monitored very well. Most people, and of course, especially Joe Biden right now, you can't get close to Joe Biden. You cannot ask him a question unless it goes through his handlers, because they're so afraid that he's going to foul up. So Trump apparently had these freewheeling discussions with Bob Woodward. Woodward himself, he and Carl Bernstein, of course, had a gigantic impact on the United States in 1972-73 with their book called All the President's Men. And they got lucky. There were a couple of young reporters at the time. They're not young anymore. But at the time, a source came to them, an inside source, who was never publicly confirmed, but we're pretty sure that we know who it is. That person, in fact, was in the news recently, I believe passed away. But in any event, that was Woodward's big claim to fame. It did directly lead to the resignation of Richard Nixon. Richard Nixon, in my book, the only president to get an F, clearly earned it. Republican president. And interestingly, Nixon actually had some real accomplishments prior to that. He opened relations with China. He signed OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Act, and he signed the Environmental Protection Act. So all of those brought to you by a Republican president in 1970 or so. But clearly, this scandal was one that brought him down. So I don't want to take anything away from Woodward and Bernstein at that point. But in terms of Woodward today, I think his ship has sailed, as they say, and there really hasn't been much reason for anybody to talk to him. So he's written what has come off as a fairly inflammatory book. And the piece that people have in the news over this last week is that Trump admitted to Woodward that he played down the impact of COVID-19. And people are saying, well, he didn't take it seriously. But Trump was quite clear in what he said. And that's the part that's not being picked up, in the news. And that is that he said, I don't want to drive people to panic. We've got a lot of professional health people. And in fact, what didn't get as much press was immediately after this hit the press, they had Tony Fauci, Dr. Fauci, the epidemiologist, who came out and said Trump did everything we told him to do. He never contradicted good medical advice. Unfortunately, the medical advice was flawed. Why was it flawed? Because since Woodrow Wilson with the Spanish flu in 1918, 1919, we have not had a pandemic, a worldwide pandemic, and people don't know, number one, what the heck to do with it. Number two, we're a very globally interconnected economy. And number three, this virus is a little bit different. It is very easy to contract. And unfortunately, when you contract it, it can have very severe symptoms, much more severe than what we call the seasonal flu. But in terms of how significant the book is and things like that, I do not consider the book relevant. I do not consider the book of particular interest, and certainly don't care about this statement that Trump made, because his actions speak louder than words. And he was late blocking traffic from China, but he did it earlier than, and in fact, at the time he blocked traffic from China, a lot of Democrats booed him for that, saying that he was being xenophobic or something like that. So it's rather ironic that they're now coming back and saying da, 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 da.
The Decline of America. We will be referring to it from time to time because it is a great research guide, and David did a lot of research to put this book together. So it's all compiled for you. If you want to compare our current president with anyone back to Woodrow Wilson, how each one of them, how did Woodrow Wilson handle a pandemic? Because there was one in his day, right, David?
That was the Spanish flu. Correct, Sandy. Thanks.
Okay, so get this book and get it now before the election so you can do some research. So go get that today. And David, another great show. Oh my gosh, so much to talk about. And you are so you have so many different varied in the topics that you can discuss, and you do discuss, and a lot of information. So I love talking to you. It's very informative to me, and also to the people who are listening to us right now as we live stream on Facebook, but also in the podcast, Saving America. So thank you, David Schein.
Thank you very much, Sandy. Take care. Have a great week.